And you, with the farmer, you must be teachable. You must be teachable. Don't think you know all because you read on the paper they said this, and somebody who is maybe a practical farmer now is telling you this, and you are telling the person no, it's not. It's all not. Look at what works, then test run and see if it works for you. Like issue of feed formulation now, everybody has his own feed formulation. Some will tell you this, professional will tell you what you are doing is rubbish. Oh, we are having results. Now, if you now look, you that fed your own with what you think is the best, and the person that fed his own with what you think was nothing to write home about, most times you look at the result, they're almost the same thing. Or you might even do better off than your own. So sometimes knowledge, and you know our Africans, they are very sensible and they are very wise. But the issue is we don't have proper way of documenting what we do. We just do the trial and error and we keep getting results. Like most of the farmers, if you ask them, they cannot really tell you this and this and this and this is what they used to formulate their feed. They just pick, and at the end of it, they're having results. So for those who are interested in going into such business, I said land, I said finance, I said knowledge, and I said patience.
You made mention about feed formulation.
Okay.
Can you at least give that one person who is watching this video right now the primary process of feed formulation? Because the first day that I came to this place, I saw you doing something like feed formulation or trying to feed your animals. And can you give us the primary process of feed formulation?
Like for the piggery aspect of it, I will not really say I have any well documented items I use. Now, like in our area, I don't know how other places they call it because we also have our own local names the way we call it. We have the cassava husk, which some people call it gari chaff. That's a remnant from gari, our local gari here from cassava. If you have it, good, you keep it aside. Then you now have PKC, palm kernel chaff, the waste from palm kernel. That one is sold in the open market. If you go to any fish shop, you can get it there. You have it. You now have soya beans. Soya beans, raw one. If you like to buy a raw one, you buy. If you like to buy already toasted one and blended one, is in the market. Now the raw one is cheaper. But if you buy the raw one, you have to come and process it now. And what are the processes now? You have to toast. After toast, you take it to the grinder, you crush into powdery form. Then normally we're supposed to have a scale. You now have a percentage of all these items you are mixing. But I don't even have one. So I do the guesswork. I now bring the gari chaff. Sometimes I have a waste from a maize. Our local what we call pap or akamu. The waste from it too. If you have it, fine. Some will dry, some will use fresh. Now, if you dry, it lasts longer. If you use wet, it's just for a short period of time. So you now bring all of them together. You now measure a quantity of it, of the either cassava chaff, or you use the gari chaff I made mention of, or the maize waste. You bring it together, you measure a quantity of the PKC, that's the palm kernel chaff. You bring a quantity of the soya beans, you mix together, and you go and start giving to them after properly stirring them together. Sometimes you can even use, like some persons will use bone meal most of the time. If you have, because all these things I mentioned, they are not easily to get by, they are also expensive. So if you now have it, you now mix all together and you now start giving. And by the time you are consistent, some will even have to go to maybe any restaurant or fast food joint, keep a container, all the waste from what people have eaten, the bones, the leftover food, they put in a bucket, carry, come and give to them. And that is also another very rich source. But if you are not in a place that you can have all those ones, you can at least look at your environment. What waste do you have? Some people give peels like yam peels, plantain peels. Then some also give a cassava peel. But the issue of cassava peel is that cassava itself contains cyanide. And the cyanide content, if you give it raw, it affects the animal. It gives them stunted growth, and sometimes they may even end up dying. So what you do is, if you have a fresh cassava peel, what you do is you sun dry. After sun dry, you now crush and mix with the other waste you also have and give. If you don't have time to dry, you can soak it. You soak it like we used to soak our local fufu here. You soak for like 3 to 4 days. When they are easily fermented now, the cyanide content in it must have really gone down. Then you can now mix other things and give. Then you look at what is palatable to them. Like if you now look at the fish meal now, they like the smell of fish. So by the time you now rub fish in any item, what they want to just go and test it because of what? The smell of the fish. That's for pig. Then other animals, like I have poultry now. Poultry for now, I have not really done any feed formulation for myself because though I was doing it at some points, that when I was having some birds, I was using this trial and error. I bring PKC, I bring wheat of fire, I go and crush maize, or sometimes I use gari chaffs, dried, grounded, and mixed together. But for that one, it can easily show if you are not giving them concentrate. But for that one, cannot really say I'm formulating feed for them because I really buy for those aspects. But for pig, no matter how much you have, you can never have a quantity of feed you will need unless you source for local ones too, which I may mention here. So for now, let's start with that one first.
What about the rabbit? Because I saw some rabbits in there. Then I asked you inside. So this kind of rabbits, they are not the local ones that we can get from the bushes and all around. It seems like they are the English ones or more of the advanced ones. So how do you feed them? If someone wants to go into this kind of farming, into the rabbit farming, starting with this species, how do that person feed this kind of, rabbits?
Well, for me, rabbit is one of the cheapest animals to really rear. Why I'm saying this in terms of space, in terms of the feeding aspect. Now, for rabbits, they feed on roughages. There are so many vegetation they eat. So they also feed on concentrate too, and also feed on local materials you can get around. So you don't have to have a blend of them all. Like they take cassava peels, dried, crushed. They take potato leaves. They take scent leaves, plantain leaves, and there are so many leaves. That's for the vegetarian aspect. Then also there are also some concentrate too that are prepared specifically for them. So it depends on what you want and the stage of maturity you want. Now, if you go for concentrate, they mature faster, but it costs money. But if you go for the local ones, you can easily get them around, so they don't really need much money because most of the grasses, the what we call grasses, the which you see around, they are directly feed to other animals in one way or the other. So there too, they are also very, very easy to manage too. Because one, their space, they don't really need a large space like other animals. Now, if you look at the caging aspect of it now, you see that with a little space, you can have many compared to the one maybe you are building some factories on the ground. Just like if you look at the pigs now, if you look at the caging aspect, you can have more for a very little space. Let's say you use 100 or 12 by 12 room, for example. You can have more than 60 rabbits in it using the caging method. But if you now use the normal deep litter system like for birds, you see that they occupy more space and a very limited number. So for rabbit, the cost of it is, to me, it's cheaper, and it does not really have much work like sweeping, maybe taking off their waste compared to like the pig aspect of it. So for that one, and their feeding strength is also very, very low since their stomach is not as large as other larger animals. So their own too is very easy to manage, and their feed too can also be sourced within our immediate environment.
For someone who wants to go into this agricultural farming, for most of these agricultural farm animals that you've mentioned, is there readily market available for these products to be sold here in Nigeria, here in Cross River State, here in Calabar to be precise? Because one thing is to produce something and another thing is for you to sell what you've produced. So you don't have to produce something and selling it is not the issue. Can't you see that that's another aspect of challenge that person is also going to face? So is there any readily market available for this product that you produce to be sold? In case that there is anyone within your environment right now who is watching this video and who wants to dive into agricultural farming, so that person will have to know if there is really market for this thing that he wants to go into. If I produce this, how do I sell it?
In terms of marketing of this product, especially for the ones I'm into now, I don't have any challenge marketing them because of one, the shortages of protein across the nation. Now, if you look at the pigs I have, like each times when it comes to like this festive period, you don't even have enough to even just within your environment, talk more of even outside. So even if I have up to 1,000 pigs now, it's just to establish communication, and you see people come to buy. And since it's a daily consumable, so it can never be enough. Another aspect of it is like for the poultry aspect, though, like our present environment now, like birds, like Obubra where we are now presently now, it's only during festive periods that you really get the patronage. Outside festive periods, it's always a challenge to sell. Though you can be having one or two people coming like that, but the major hit and the peak of it is during festive period. But for eggs since it's one of the major consumable that 85% of people around us consume on a daily basis. For now, we don't even have 1/3. All the poultry farm put together, we don't even have 1/3 of the eggs consumed in our environment. All the farms put together here. Because people still go out to source for eggs. Some go as far as Enugu, some go as far as Ebonyi, and some neighboring states around Akwa Ibom to get eggs. That means our production for now is very low. So the issue of marketing is not even a challenge. Like now, as I speak to you, I don't even have eggs now. because the people around me say I cannot even service them all through. So there's a readily available market. But why people are running away from it is the cost. It's very capital intensive. So that's why you see people now shying away from this one, because it needs a longer time for you to now have them, feed them to point of lay. But the market aspect of it always there, because people keep coming on a daily basis. Sometimes they even have to pay upfront for them to be sure that at least they have products for them, especially for the eggs. So for market is not a challenge. Even for the pig aspect is not a challenge. The only challenge we are having is for birds, because around us here, people don't really fancy it. They look at it's very expensive. They prefer going for other aspects, even be like ice fish and other things like that. But for eggs and for pigs, it's daily consumable, and the market is readily available. You don't need to just keep disturbing yourself. The only point is, by the time you start, they know you are consistent, that even if people are coming from far, and thank God social media, you can advertise. By the time you now advertise on social media, especially you may not even want to advertise. Like if you look at my own egg now, I'm not even advertising. Why am I not advertising? Because I don't even have the quantity people will be coming. Somebody don't come in from far and I'm telling I'm coming to have eggs, and sometimes they just come and there's no egg, because I don't even have the quantity to even service the people around, just a few ones around me now. So the market is not a challenge for now.
If there is one person right now watching this video, because there is someone who wants to invest into the business, let's say the person is not around, or the person is not within the continent, the person is in diaspora or something of such, what will your message be to that person?
Agricultural business is, as I said before, one of the most lucrative business for me, because it gives you time to do other things too. And also, for those who want to invest, I think it's a welcome development. But even if you are investing, look for people who are passionate about it. One thing is to invest, and one thing is to have return on it, because every businessman wants to invest and make profit. So by the time you now invest in someone who is not trained, someone who is not passionate about it, maybe just wants to get a financial, like most times you see government coming to empower people, you see them coming to empower farmers. Now ask, how many of the farmers have they empowered that is really still on business after 2 or 3 years? You find out that the percentage is very low. Why? Because most of the persons didn't have this foresight. What they wanted was just to get the financial, maybe the grants or the financial assistance, and that's all. So for those who want to invest, look at a specific area. Look at a farm that is already existing and have results. Then go into partnership with such a person. Let there be clear documents specifying what and what you have to get for you investing in such. Then a farm that is already existing, it's easier to invest in a farm that is already existing than to go and start a fresh one. Because most times they will tell you, like, we have graduates all around who read Agri. Most of them now, if you ask them some simple questions, they cannot even answer. They just write exams and pass. But the practical aspect. So if you have such persons, especially for our own kind of schools we have here, just to come and write exams and go. After then, what next? You see somebody who is just maybe a graduate of Agri now, tell the parent to go and establish a farm, it tells you that he didn't go to school for such. So those who want to invest, look at an existing farm that is already doing well. Then you can now improve. But just looking at something because he read Agri and say I want to invest in the person may not, kind of school we have now. The person might just went to school, maybe was just forced to read that course, but passionately, that was not his dream to study. But just say, well, let me just go to school. After all, they say now, any course you read, you can work anywhere, and just goes into it. But one who is passionate. Another good thing about Agri is that you can learn while on it. So there's always room for improvement. Now, I did it the way I knew. But by the time I start relating with other persons, I start seeing what others are doing. As time goes on, I keep improving myself. So it's easier to invest. Or I would advise anyone who wants to invest in a farm that already exists, that have some little infrastructure. Then you now look at, okay, if I now bring this and bring this and bring this and bring this, okay, that means the person can do better with the little he or she has on ground as at when maybe you saw the person. So it's very easy for one to invest in an existing farm, and it's even advisable that way than just to dive into it and then maybe they went for 1 or 2 weeks training and you think they have the knowledge on everything. No, look at the farm that's already existing. And even for the government, I would even want to encourage, it's not to go and gather people somewhere and you think you are training them. After the training, you now release funds. At the end of the day, they end up not doing anything. They end up either diverting the funds. It is better, by the time you're investing, invest with infrastructures or facilities. Now, don't invest with cash. Look at the farm. What did the person need now? Okay, I may not give you cash. You sit with the person, attach a vendor to the person. Maybe I want to invest, maybe I have 1 million now, for example, now 1 million naira. I want to invest in maybe poultry. I'll now look at what and what do you need? You already have a structure on ground. Let's say, okay, for the housing. Or if you don't have, I bid for you. Supervise it to the end. Then also now stock the farm for you. Don't give physical cash. Because physical cash, most times they can divert. They may have other things they want to do, but they'll just use that as a camouflage just to get the finances from the source. But by the time you now buy those inputs for the person has no option. He or she must do it. And when you invest, don't invest large first. Try small and grow with the person. Because if you now invest heavily on the farm and the farm fails, it's too painful and disastrous. Now you have now lose everything. But start small, let the person keep growing. Then when you see that the person is now making some progress, you keep investing like that until you get to where you want the person or your own self, you want the farm to get to. Easily said, but difficult to achieve.
How many years have you been into agriculture?
Well, for now, counting 4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
If you are to advise that one person watching this video right now who wants to go into agricultural farming, what will your message be to that person?
Well, it's an open market. So I will want to encourage the person who wants to go into agriculture that, one, be patient, have this patience. You may not need to go to any school that has to do with agric per se. Say I must go and study agric. If I don't study agric, I can't. No. If you are passionate about it, thank God for social media and the internet. Every information you need is online. Go there, pay some little money, get some information, and make friends with people who are on it. Don't go and say I'm making friends with people who read agric. No. Those that read agric, they read the theory aspect of it written by another person. But in as much as the processes keep going, there are changes every day. Since knowledge is not static, it's dynamic. So, and those who are on it, they have ways of maneuvering. Any situation that comes, they have ways of maneuvering it. So, make friends with people who are into it already. Then ask questions. Don't be tired of asking questions. Keep asking, keep asking, keep asking, keep asking till you now get the best. And somebody can also come and say, now your farm is on. How, what and what did you do? Like person like me, I don't even have any certificate to say this is what maybe this is a training I went to and I tell you what I'm doing. No, I started it like that with my own crude way, our own traditional way. Started like that. And as time goes on, I keep searching, surfing the net, asking questions, ask other farmers too who are also around. Gradually, I keep getting information, shaving off the ancient ways of doing it, and I'm trying to adopt the modern way of doing it. So for those who want to go into it, it's a welcome development.
My simple objective in this channel is to bring industrious African men and women like you who are doing something in the agricultural sector of their country that has been contributing to the growth of agriculture to their country and to the entire African continent at large. If I'm to ask you this question right now, what is the advantage of a youth out there, an African youth going into agricultural farming?
Well, for now, since we know that agriculture is one of the biggest employer of labor, and again, another thing you stand to get is that you are self-employed. So you do not wait for government, because now, especially in Nigeria where we are now, looking for a job has when we become a job. So the advantages is that, one, you become a CEO of your own. Two, you become an employer of labor. And again, in agribusiness, if you have a little land, you can make judicious use of it. And there are many more. Because at the end of the day, you now start adding value, not only to yourself, the people around you, those connected to you, and even to the host community. Just like what we are now doing now. And now we are now passing knowledge to another person. If the idea wasn't there at all, that means there was nothing of this nature could have ever happened. So there are many advantages. Now, like if you go into this animal production, animal husbandry aspect of it, one, you have meat for yourself. So in terms of saying I want to go to the market and buy meat for the family or for yourself, just like this festive period, you have an advantage of it now because you are now part and parcel of the process. And there are many advantages which you cannot, if you want to start enumerating them, you will not even have time for it now.
I know that there is no business that doesn't have its own challenges.
Yes.
So what are the challenges that you face as an agricultural farmer?
Well, the major challenge you face is finances. Now you may have something in mind to do, but the finances may not be there. Another thing is also the environment you find yourself. If you are not in an environment that is friendly related to agricultural business, you always have issues. Now, we also have issues of water, especially where I am now. You have issues of water, you have issues of sometimes outbreaks, and most of the major issue you have is issue of finance and getting prompt and up-to-date information most of the time. Because this environment we are now, many persons are not into it. So if you have any challenge, before you can rectify it, it's always a challenge because people are not into it. Even when you think you have people who have gone to school in those aspects, they don't have the practical knowledge of it. So sometimes you have to do trial and error, and sometimes if the internet comes, you can at least try to get on information. So the major issues we're having is finance for now. Okay.
For a young African youth who wants to start an agricultural farm like your own,
okay,
what are the common challenges? Because when you want to start out, it's always even more difficult than when you have already started.
Okay.
So for someone who wants to venture into agricultural farming, what are the challenges that this person will encounter before he or she will now attain that height of success?
The major challenge, as I said again, is finance. Now, if you have a finance, have you gotten the requisite knowledge? That's the training now. Because there are some certain persons, you may even still give them the finance, but they don't still have the required knowledge. And patience, another factor. So for one to really succeed in agribusiness, you have to be patient. Because it's not like you just buy and come and sell. It needs time. So if you are not that patient enough, and you don't have this die-hard spirit of saying, I must see the end of this thing, and you're always positive about it, that at the end of the day to yield out well. So even if the finance is there, the passion is not there, the patience is not there, you can't succeed. Another thing is you must have land. Land is also another challenge. So if you don't have a land in a strategic position where they can accept it, because like for agribusiness now, like for animal husbandry, which I am into now, you need land, and the land should be situated in an area where it's not really residential. Because if you have maybe you have it in the heart of a town, there'll be issues of smell, issues of waste disposal, and all those things. So you have to have land, you have to have the finances, and you also have to have the training and be patient to follow up the process to the end. The starting point is always a challenging aspect of it, but if you start and you are passionate about it and you have the finances to also support yourself, I think you can do it.
Can you at least give us the primary process of starting an agricultural farm? But before we dive into that, can I ask you, what are the animals that you farm in this your agricultural farm?
The first one I started with piggery. One of the things you need to start as a person is one, I said land. You now have the land. You have the finance to start developing. Now, if you have the land, the strategic position where you will not have any issues with the natives or the people around, neighbors around, where it's strictly on agricultural profit. Like some developed countries, they have places in towns where if you are passionate about such, you can acquire land, you start doing it. Now, if you have the land, you should have some little funds. Now, if you have some little funds, you start with infrastructure. Now, what type of farming do you want to go to determine the kind of infrastructure you want to establish? Now, if you have this infrastructure now, the cost of buying the stock is another challenge again. Now, if you now have the money, you now buy the stock. Do you have the knowledge on how to manage them? Because management, again, is another major challenge. So my advice is, if you are passionate about it, get some level of training. Thank God for the internet now, just like what we are doing now. Some persons can get information from what we are doing now. Then also look for people around your environment who are into it. Let us not say I read in paper. No, there's a difference between theory and the practical aspect. Look for a farm that's already run in an existing farm, whether small or big. Go there. There are some information you get there that those who are reading it on paper don't have. So it does not necessarily mean that I must study agric or I must do anything that has to do with animal farming or thereabout. Myself personally, I'm a pure art student who did guidance and counseling. So if you look at my area of specialization, I'm never supposed to be doing what I'm doing, but the passion was there. Then I also started asking questions. My name is Jeremiah Imbush. I'm a native of Cross River State, Baluku local government precisely.
Can you give us a background story on how you started your farm, sir?
Well, it came as a result of passion for agric, and also looking at the present economic situation in the country, Nigeria, having to graduate from school and having nothing doing. So instead of sitting down and waiting for the government to give you a job, which most times is never even obtainable anywhere. So I was just looking at how can I personally add value to myself without looking at the government for anything. So this passion now came, though I didn't really have any training concerning many of the sectors I'm into now, but I just had this passion. Thank God for social media also and the internet. I got some information there, read some books, and also made friends, people who also had similar vision with mine. And then I keep asking questions, and gradually started from my little savings, and it kept getting bigger and bigger every day. That's just it.